across India, all across the world. So I am Shruti Kaura. I am an award winner at Unacademy, and definitely this is going to be a beautiful session where we are going to learn about a new book which you can add to your CV, your resume, and you can really impress your interviewer by saying that you have read all these books. So this is not the only purpose of this session, but apart from that, you can also learn to have, a plethora of problems solved in these books. Let's go ahead and find out what this problem, what this book is going to solve. Let's go ahead. So this is Shruti Kaura. I am Shruti Kaura, and this is a glimpse of my award. Now, there is a special scheme that's going on for all of you. Thank you for 50k subscribers. We are really overwhelmed with your love and affection, right? So there is an exciting contest and amazing prizes planned for you. Stay updated for that, and don't forget to use the code ASCORALIVE. For sure, use the code and start your beautiful journey of learning at Unacademy. Let's go ahead. Next. As I just shared with you, all of you, I can see that many of the students have joined and others are joining. Yes, I can see that. Please quickly join everybody. You'll never get a chance to learn these beautiful novels, books in such an interesting manner. So use the code ASCORALIVE for discounts at Unacademy. Right? So this is the way how you can buy Unacademy subscription. I have already given a flow chart. There are 2 subscriptions plus an iconic. Use the code ASCORALIVE here and click on proceed to pay. Be it plus, be it iconic. Wonderful. Now, leaders are always readers, as I always say, and this is one of my favorite quotes. Leaders are always readers. So if you want to be a leader, be an avid reader. Now, why do CEOs read so much? This question most of the time in the last sessions, in the last month, we learned that on an average, CEOs read 5 books in a month. But why do CEOs read so much? Let me tell you, they find the answers to their problem. They think that they can find the answers to their problems in these books because somebody somewhere must have faced these kind of problems which the CEOs are currently facing. And they think that the person must have solved that problem and the solution could be written in this book. So that is why CEOs read a lot of books. So be an avid reader because it's not only about being a CEO, it's about being a leader as well. So leaders are always readers. So what is the benefit that this video is going to give all of you? No doubt you're going to learn about that particular book and that you can add it to your CV or resume. Secondly, you can practice reading comprehension through it. Perfectly fine. So which book we are going to study today? Any idea? The book we are going to study today is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Now, most of the learners, most of the students fail to understand the name of this book. I'll also explain the meaning of this book, why we call it as a To Kill a Mockingbird, and why the title is so negative. Actually, it only sounds negative, but it's not at all negative. It's going to touch a very critical issue of the society. So, To Kill a Mockingbird is a book by Harper Lee, and she's no doubt a well-renowned writer. So, this novel has won Pulitzer Prize in 1961. Yes, this is an award-winning novel. It has won the Pulitzer Prize. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961. It's written from the perspective of a child, a 6-year-old child named as Scott Finch. It's written from her perspective. And the main theme, it goes around, it's depicting racial discrimination during that era. That was an era of modernism. And it was written in 1950. Although it was written in 1950, but in 1960 it was published. And you can see that in 1961, the immediate next year, it won the Pulitzer Prize as well. So as I just shared with you, it's depicting the time of modernism when this book was written. And most of the American schools and colleges, they follow this book. It's a classic in American literature. This book is considered as a classic in American literature. That's very good. In fact, that's very important. So that is why I must say that it's going to touch a very critical issue. Let's go ahead, let's find out how. The author Harper Lee, she has taken some of the events from her own life as well. If you look at this book, right, for example, let's say tomorrow any one of you decides to become a writer. So based on your events that you have witnessed, or based on your own story, generally you'll come up with an idea or the main theme. Similarly, if you consider Harper Lee, she has taken some of the events of this book from her own life only. And now, many a time this question comes to your mind, or earlier whenever you have read the title, these questions must have come to your mind, that what is the meaning of this title, To Kill a Mockingbird? So let me tell you, this is a mockingbird. And what is the meaning to kill a mockingbird? Is it like that? It's such a negative book. If it is so negative, then why are we discussing it here? If it is actually going to, ask me to revolt against something, or if it's going to ask me to kill a bird, then why are we discussing it here? Let's go ahead and find out. So let's find out the meaning of this title, To Kill a Mockingbird. When you say you kill a mockingbird, that means, class, you're going to destroy innocence. When we say that to kill a mockingbird, that means it is similar to destroying the innocence of somebody who's weak or defenseless. Actually, it has got a metaphorical or a symbolic meaning too. But for the time being, to kill a mockingbird means to destroy innocence. Now the question is why? Because who are mockingbirds? Actually, falling are the things that mockingbirds never do. They don't eat up people's gardens. They never harm anyone. Mockingbirds are very innocent. They do not eat up people's gardens. They don't nest in concretes. They don't do one thing, right, but sing their hearts out for us. In the sense, they only sing. Mockingbirds only sing. Just they sing their hearts out for us. They never eat anybody's garden. They never nest in concretes. These are concretes. They never do that, class. They are so innocent. And that is why to kill a mockingbird is similar to destroying innocence. When they are not going to harm you, when they are not harming you in any way, why are you killing them? So that means you are destroying the innocence. So that's why it's considered as a sin. Trust me, it's a big word. It's a very heavy word. It's a very strong word. It's a sin to kill a mockingbird. So here, mockingbird has a symbolic meaning, or it is a metaphorical meaning here as well. So what is that symbolic or metaphorical meaning here? Let me tell you. Basically, we use the word mockingbird for those people who are weak and innocent. They are defenseless. Here in this book, generally it's referred to, it's referring to the people of colored community. And it has been shown in the book that they are oppressed by whites. So we should never hurt weak and innocent people. That is the idea, right? So everybody, all across India, all across world, is everybody clear? What is the significance of this title, To Kill a Mockingbird? Secondly, why it is considered as a sin to kill a mockingbird. So what are the main characters of this book? Wow, this is a cute image. The main characters are Scott Finch. She's a 6-year-old girl and the narrator too. Now she is the narrator of this book, class, Scott Finch. Then her younger brother is there, Jem Finch, and Atticus Finch is her father. So you can see a father with daughter, that is Scott Finch, and son, that is Jem Finch. So this is just a symbolic representation. Yes, their mother passed away, right? They don't have mother. And her father has a profession. In which profession her father was? So in this book it has been depicted that he is a lawyer. So why I'm saying that he is a lawyer? And why I'm specifically hinting at the fact that he doesn't earn much? Because he is of the viewpoint that you should always stand against justice. And he doesn't mind even helping the community, the colored community, even though whites are against the colored community, so he doesn't mind helping them. Then, now you understood there are, just now I have discussed the three characters. You got all the three characters. First one is Atticus Finch, second is Scott Finch, third one is Jem Finch. And their mother passed away. So who is actually taking care of, who is going to take care of the kids? This question must be there in your mind as well. So they have got a, maid come chef or a caretaker, that is Calpunia. Now this particular lady Calpunia, she is again a person of color. Even though she is a person of color, she takes very good care of the kids class. She takes very good care. Now the next character is Dill. Who's this Dill? Actually, it's a boy who has come to meet her aunt. And where is his aunt staying? His aunt is staying in the neighborhood. So neighborhood of Scott and Jem Finch. So the person, the boy Dill, has come to meet his aunt in the summer vacations, and his aunt is the neighbor of Scott and Jem Finch. So soon, they all become friends. So when they all became friends, what happens, how the story unfolds, let's go ahead and find out. But for the time being, you should be clear: Atticus Finch, Scott Finch, Jem Finch and Dill. So now, of course, they all have become friends. Then, is there any other character as well? Yes. There is Mr. Radley's house in the neighborhood. Of course, Dill is there in the neighborhood of Scott and Jem Finch, but then there is one more person in the neighborhood that has been shown in the story as Mr. Radley. And in that house, Mr. Radley's younger brother Arthur Radley stays. So you have understood Scott Finch, Jem Finch and Atticus Finch. Then you got Dill, and now there is Arthur Radley, who's the younger brother of Mr. Radley. And they all are staying in the neighborhood. And what kind of boy is this Arthur Radley? Actually, all kids are afraid of Arthur Radley. Why? Because he is considered very unsocial. And the children in the town generally refer to him as Arthur Boo Radley, as if he were a ghost. Right? Generally, you can see here the idea behind all this Arthur Radley is that people don't consider Arthur Radley as a very good boy. They believe that Arthur Radley is some kind of ghost. Now, what is the reason behind that? Oh my God, can you imagine somebody staying in your neighborhood and you consider some person as a ghost or unsocial? What is the reason? Let's go ahead and find out. All the kids have a very horrible picture of Arthur Radley. They think that Arthur Radley eats rodents and cats, and he catches the cats and mouse and he eats that. Oh my God. And he's very ugly. He kills any child. If he gets a chance to catch any child, he kills that child and he eats that child. Oh my God. So is it like that he's a cannibal? Yes. In the eyes of the kids consider Arthur Radley as some sort of ghost or a cannibal, or having basically some sort of thinking where he's not considered as a normal person. So, is he really a bad guy? Because everybody in the neighborhood thinks that Arthur Radley is a bad guy. Let's go ahead and find out. Let's see how the story unfolds. For the time being, the story is getting very interesting. Let's go ahead. Now, the real story. What is the real story? Why everyone considers Arthur Radley as an unsocial element, as a cannibal or as a ghost? Why? From where Arthur Radley got this image? Actually, he got in trouble with the law for being a bit wild and disorderly. Earlier, he was kind of wild or disorderly, and he got in trouble with the law. So that is why when he was a teenager, his father never let him out of the house. So when he was a teenager, his father never let him out of the house. You can see that somebody did some mistake and ultimately, he got his hands into law. But then afterwards, his father didn't allow him to go outside of the house. And now his father is dead. So you can consider that if he is having any kind of sibling, his sibling must be carrying on that legacy of what his father has asked or what his father has ordered Arthur Radley to do. So now his father is dead, and this person Arthur Radley is living with his older brother, and trust me, is a complete recluse. Arthur Radley is a complete recluse. So what happens? Now, as I just shared with you, that these three kids, Scott, Jem, and Dill, they all are they all have become friends and they all have started playing together. And they all are playing games involving the Radley house. Now imagine that being a kid, you have been asked that a ghost stays in your neighborhood. Don't you get that curiosity, that inquisitiveness to find out that who that person is? You always try to go near to that house. You always try to find out. It's a common, it's a what do you say, nature of a kid. Whether you called it, inquisitiveness in the childhood, but if you say a child that you should not do this particular thing, the child will always do that same thing. So same thing is happening. They are playing games that always involve the Radley's house. They run past it. They dare each other to touch. Oh, come on, touch me, I'm running. And then what happened one day? They start finding presents. Can you see this hole in the oak tree? So they start finding presents like gums, pennies in the hole in a tree. So who is leaving them? Is it Boo Radley leaving gifts for them? Though, yes, it takes a long time for the kids to realize that the guy who they consider as a ghost or a cannibal or an unsocial person, he is leaving the gifts for them. Okay, let's go ahead. So the kids, even though till now, it's the very beginning part of the story, they did not know. Later in the story, they realized that the person Arthur Radley is leaving a lot of gifts for them. But till date, at the beginning of the story, they don't know. They always try to make schemes to get that Arthur Radley come out of the house so that they can see him. They have that inquisitiveness, they have that curiosity inside them that they would like to see who this Arthur Radley is. So they are making schemes to get that person come out of the house so that they can see them. Till now, in the beginning part of the story, they don't know that Arthur Radley is the one who's leaving gifts in the form of gums and pennies in the hole of an oak tree. And what happens one night, generally these kind of things kids do at night as well. One night they just sneak round to the back of the house. They go at the back of the house of Arthur Radley and they try to, get a look at him. Who that person is? Is he really a ghost? They try to have a sneak peek of Arthur Radley through the window. They are sneaking to the back of the house just to get a glimpse of Arthur Radley. But the elder brother of Arthur Radley, Nate, so they get shot by the older brother, Nate. Who is this? He started shouting. So the kids ran away. And while running, Jim get his trousers caught in a fence. His trousers caught in the fence. Just imagine all of you are sneaking into somebody's house through window and that person noticed and he shouted at the loudest of his volume, and while running, your trousers get caught in the fence. So definitely what happened, Jim left his trousers in the fence. And let me give you one more surprise. Boo Radley fixes those trousers and leaves them out for Jim. Of course, those trousers were clumsily sewn together. It was not perfect, stitch. But then, because Jim's trousers got stuck in the fence, so Boo Radley fixed them. Although Jem is not aware of this fact, but next day, when he actually, goes to take his trousers out of the fence, so to his surprise, he finds his trousers, sewn back, completely sewn together, pressed. It was not only just sewn, it was ironed as well. Wow! So from all these incidents and many more, but at the end of the story, kids understood that Radley isn't a bad guy. He just wants to be reclusive. It's just like that. He just wants to stay all alone. That's it. But he's not a bad guy. So all of you, My class, my learners, right? As I always say, you all are genius. You all are genuine. Never ever think that if a person is not talking to you, he is always a bad person. That's never the case. Fine, moving further. Now the next main character, we discuss about Scott, Jem, Finch, Atticus, Dill, Arthur Radley, his brother Nate. Okay. Now the next main character in the story is Tom Robinson. Who is this Tom Robinson? Right? Let's go ahead and find out. So he is a black man, a person of color, and he is wrongly accused of raping a white female, Myla Ebel. So Myla Ebel in 1930s again in Alabama. So let me tell you about this city, Alabama. Alabama, like in the beginning of the story, I shared with you that the family is staying in Macomb, Alabama. Alabama is in the south of America, and this city at that time is considered as a kind of a racial city or a racial town. They believe in doing racial discrimination. So that is why I am writing these things in this manner, that Tom Robinson is a black man who is wrongly accused of raping a white woman called as Myla Ebel. Again in 1930s. As I shared with you, the novel was written in 1950, but it was published in 1960 and it won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961. So this setting, they are talking about that this, the one who is accused of raping a white woman, this is happening in 1930. Now, who is going to defend Tom Robinson? None other than father of Scott Finch, Atticus. Atticus is going to defend, or he is asked to defend Tom Robinson. So ideally, if you look at it, he should not take this case. As I shared with you, Macomb is a town where racial discrimination is prevalent. But let's see what happened. Did Atticus take the case, or did he leave that? Let's go ahead. So Atticus knows that it's very difficult to win the case. Victory is not possible due to racism. He can never be a winner, or he can never be a judge where a lot of people, are going to clap for him. He already, knows this thing. So now what happened? Did he take the case when he already knows that it's difficult to win the case? Victory is almost next to impossible. He takes on the case. Yes, class, Atticus takes on the case, even though everyone knows he has little hope of winning. Even he himself knew is not gonna win. Even others also knew that he has got very little chances of victory. Now, that's the reason the white community gets angry from him. Now, Atticus Finch, decided to take the case of Tom Robinson, and because of this reason, the white community gets angry from Atticus Finch. You imagine you're staying in a community where everyone is white. You already know that this white community is a bit racist. Still, you have decided to defend someone, right? And that too, who's in the minority. That's what we call daringness. So let's see whether he wins the case or he loses. Let's go ahead. Now, even other kids started harassing Scott and Jem Finch. Why? Because his father has taken a case of a black man. So Scott and Jem, they are school kids. So even in the school, other kids started harassing Scott and Jem Finch. Now, this is a very unfortunate incident in the book. This is a very unfortunate moment. But the father of the kids, Atticus Finch, he explained his kids not to fight with other kids. Right? Why? Because first of all, the other kids, they are behaving in this manner because they have learned it from their parents. Absolutely, they are not at mistake. They are not doing some, grave mistake. They are just doing what their parents have told them to do. Secondly, we should not fight with other kids because it's considered wise to stay calm in the time of adversity. Even it's a difficult time, so staying calm in the difficult time is considered as wisdom. So he explained his kids not to fight with other kids because he believes that we should stay calm in the times of adversity. Now what happens? He further adds to it by stating that true bravery isn't to keep fighting even though you can't win. True bravery is not, what is true bravery, class? I'll tell you further as I'll create more videos. I'll let you know what is true happiness. But for the timing, what is true bravery? If you know that you are going to win and you are doing something, that is not called true bravery. True bravery is when you are fighting, even though you know you can't win or you have very less chances of winning. That is what you call true bravery. So the lesson that you should learn here is that you should always stay calm in times of adversity. Second, true bravery is in fighting even though you know that you have very less chances of winning or you almost can't win. Next. Now, of course, Atticus Finch has taken the case of Tom Robinson. He is defending the person of color, and he's trying his level best to prove that Tom Robinson is innocent. But on what grounds? What is the evidence? Where is the evidence? What is he proving? Let's go to the evidence. If we look at the evidence of this case, actually this gentleman Tom Robinson, his left hand is paralyzed. You can imagine that he's accused. I am not using the word wrongly. He's accused of raping white women, but his left hand is paralyzed. And Myla Ebel has injuries on her right side. So the fact is that, look at the case. A person who is paralyzed on the left side, and the girl who has accused someone of raping her has got injuries on her right side. Now there is a third character to this. Apart from Atticus Finch, Tom Robinson, and Myla Ebel, there is a third character as well, called as Bob Ebel. Now he is the father of Myla Ebel. And again, her father is a left-handed person. Yes, class. Like Tom Robinson is paralyzed from the left-hand side, right? His left hand is paralyzed. Myla Ebel has got injuries on her right side. And her father, Bob Ebel, is left-handed. So, there are higher chances that he must have hit her daughter. The evidence that he is trying to prove in the court is that my witness, my client, is paralyzed. His left hand is paralyzed. And the girl, the victim, she has got injuries on the right hand side. And the father of the victim is also left-handed. So there are very high chances that the father must have hit her daughter. And according to the story that Myla Ebel has presented to the court, she said that she asked Tom to meet her. According to the story, although this is not clear, I mean she has said it or not, we really cannot say that in the court, but according to the story, Myla Ebel asked Tom to meet her. And Bob Ebel caught them. See, a daughter meeting a boy and a father caught them. So when her father caught them, her father hit Myla. And then her father forced her daughter to file a false rape charge or a rape accusation against Tom. Imagine father seeing her daughter meeting some stranger, and that to a person of color. So father must have hit her daughter because she is meeting this person or she has met this person and then forced her daughter to file rape accusations against Tom. So this is what has, Atticus Finch must have presented in the court. So even after having these convincing evidence, right, these convincing evidences, or even after having this convincing evidence, the jury, whose members were white, declared Tom as guilty. Even Atticus Finch, he has those convincing evidences, but the jury members were, majority of them were white. So they declared Tom as guilty. So he was proven guilty, not innocent. And you know what happened next? While coming out of the court, or while, of course, there could be a case he was trying to escape as well, but then he was trying, while he was coming out, Tom was killed in mob lynching. The person of color, the black man Tom Robinson, was killed in mob lynching. Don't you think that's very sad? Now, look at this, because the narrator of the story is this girl, Scott Finch. Try to look the story from her angle. After seeing all this, Atticus Finch kids started disbelieving in justice. They started disbelieving justice. They stopped having their faith in justice because they have not seen the world. They are not experienced. They are just basing their views on what they are witnessing in their day-to-day life. So what happened next? I'll tell you what happened next. Before that, there is an event in the story why this title has come up, and why in the story, where in the story has the author mentioned about this To Kill a Mockingbird. I'll tell you. In between the story, what happened? Atticus gives the kid air rifle. He bought air rifle and he gave the kids air rifle, and they were of course very happy. But he said to his kids that they are allowed to shoot at whatever birds they want. He said to his kids that you can shoot whatever birds you want, but don't kill the mockingbird. They are allowed to shoot at whatever birds they want, but not the mockingbirds. Again, the reason I explained in the beginning, because mockingbird don't hit anyone's plans. They never harm anybody or anything. All they do is make music. They sing their hearts out. So, from that air rifle, they are allowed to kill any bird, but not the mockingbirds. So, as I shared with you in the beginning as well, as I mentioned earlier, mockingbird has a metaphorical meaning too. Mockingbirds are those people who are weak or defenseless. So to kill that mockingbird in that sense is to take advantage of someone weaker than you. Is to take advantage of someone who's weaker than you. You're trying to take advantage of someone. He's weaker than you. He's weak. He's defenseless, and you're trying to take advantage. Sorry, that's completely absurd. That's completely injustice. That's not at all acceptable. That's unacceptable. Now, as I shared with you, even Tom Robinson was killed in mob lynching, but the father of this girl, Myla Ewell, her father Bob Ewell, he's still carrying that grudge inside. He's carrying that grudge against Atticus. And he threatens to take revenge. He's just finding a moment, an opportune moment when he can take a revenge, when he can, actually get his, ends meet, when he gets his particular revenge from Atticus or his family. So he is carrying that grudge on Halloween. At night of Halloween, this Bob Ewell, the father of Myla Ewell, he tries to attack the kids of Atticus Finch. And why he is doing that? He wants to take revenge. He wants to teach a lesson to Atticus Finch, just because he has taken the case of a black person. So this person, Bob Ewell, is holding a grudge against Atticus Finch, and he wants to take a revenge. He wants to teach a lesson to Atticus Finch, and in an attempt to do that, he tries to attack the kids of Atticus Finch. At that time, who comes as a savior for the kids? Who tries to save the kids from this evil guy, Bob Ewell? Radley. So at that time, Radley, who the kids think as an evil human being, saves the lives of kids. However, what happened that this person, Radley, he ended up killing Bob Ewell. Even though kids consider him as a ghost, as an unsocial, as a recluse, as a cannibal, he is the one who comes and saves the lives of kids. But during that struggle, he ended up killing Bob Ewell. Now, After this incident, Skid realized that Radley is a good human being, and all the gifts that they used to find in the hole of an oak tree in the backyard were kept by Radley only. I don't know whether they were able to figure out even the trousers that was clumsily sewn together. It was by Radley only. But then the main point is that they realized that Arthur Radley is not a bad guy. He's a good human being. Now, Atticus, now first there is a murder that has been committed, be it in self-defense, but there is a murder that has been committed. So now what happens? Is Arthur Radley going to be jailed? Is he going to serve his time? Is it like that? Let's go ahead and find out. Now Atticus says that it should be proved in the court that Radley killed Bob Ewell in self-defense. Now, of course, Atticus is saying that in the court it should be proved that Radley killed the father of that girl, Myla Ewell, in self-defense. This is what the father of the kid, that is Atticus, is telling to the sheriff. So, in response to this, the sheriff insists that this event should look like an accident. He is not of the view that there should be a trial, the kids or Arthur Radley should, go to the court, they are fighting their case. He is not at all of the view. Rather, he insists that let's make this incident look like an accident. And why? I'll tell you why the sheriff sticks to this story. What is the reason behind that? Just think of Arthur Radley. You all will get the reason. The reason sheriff sticks to this story is that if this much attention, Radley will get this much attention, it could be devastating for him. He's a recluse, and I don't know whether he enjoys being a recluse or not, but he has been a recluse from so many years. So this much attention could be devastating for a recluse like Arthur Radley. So he is of the view, the sheriff is of the view that make this incident look like an accident. Rather, Atticus, that is the father of the two kids, is of the view that Arthur Radley, should be given the title of a hero. He should not, get these titles of unsocial and all. If he has saved the lives of the kids, then the city or the town should know. Now let's find out. Actually, since Arthur saves children's lives, for example, if someone among you is Arthur, you never want your privacy to get disturbed or hampered by anything. So since Arthur has done a good work by saving children's life, the best reward, what is the best reward? The best reward is to let him keep his privacy. Don't just, kind of make him run through the trials of the court. So, Atticus is a little afraid to do this. Now, why Atticus is afraid to do this? Because, he's thinking that his children might be, they have gone through this particular miscarriage of justice. His children has just lived through the miscarriage of justice in the case of Tom Robinson. And now, if they see that Atticus is also bending the law because of his association with the sheriff, he fears that his kids won't respect him. Right? The reason why Atticus, or the father of the kids, is afraid to, agree to the viewpoint of sheriff. Why? He's saying that just now they have seen the miscarriages of the trial in the case of Tom Robinson. And now, in the second incident, if they see their father bending the law just because he is associated with the sheriff, that his kids will never respect him again. But look at the narrator, Scott Finch. She's so wise, class. You know what she tells her father? She tells that she understands, making a hero out of Arthur Radley. If we try to make Arthur Radley as a hero, no, it would be like killing a mockingbird. He is innocent. He is a recluse. and we are, asking him to come to the limelight. So even though Arthur Radley has done a good work and you want him to get the title or the, tag of a hero, but making a hero of Arthur Radley is like killing a mockingbird. So that is a climactic moment in the, novel Class. It means that she has understood her lesson and she has absorbed the lesson about mocking birds. They never do any harm to anybody. They just sing their hearts out. They just make music. So she has absorbed the lesson about mocking birds, that despite having seen the unfairness of life, she has absorbed this lesson. She sees its value as well. Arthur is actually very childlike himself, right? And there is a scene where he asks Squat that, can you just accompany me for this particular task? Even though that is not written here, but then he is very childlike person, so don't try to make a hero out of Arthur. So if I'll quickly tell you the summary, what is the summary, how it started? The story is basically narrated by Scott Finch. She's a 6-year-old tomboy kind of a thing, and she's living with her lawyer father Atticus and her 10-year-old brother Jem. And till she arrives, or not she, because he's a boy, he arrives in Macon, and she is the one who's narrating all these things. In the sense, she is Scott Finch, and meets Scott and Jem. So Scott, Jem and Dill, they plan to make the local recluse Boo Radley leave his house. They are, making a lot of plans. They are sneak peeking the house of Radley. That's when they got shot by his elder brother Nate. So Boo has not been seen in Macon since he was a teenager, as he got his hands into law, and since then his father asked him not to go outside the house. So since he was a teenager, he has not been seen in Macon, that is a town in Alabama. And the whole story revolves around Atticus Finch's attempt to prove the innocence of Tom Robinson. Tom Robinson, as I shared with you, is a black man charged with raping Myla Ewell, who is white. And Bob Ewell, right, who is the father of Myla Ewell, he attacks Jem and Scout, but he is killed by Arthur Boo Radley, who leaves his house in order to save them. So the reader sees the trial develop through the childlike eyes of Scott, as gradually both she and her brother learn some valuable lessons. As I just shared with you, they don't want to make Arthur a hero. Why? Because it's just like similar to killing a mockingbird. So they just learn the lessons from their father about tolerance, empathy and understanding. So what did we learn from this book, from this story, from this novel? That we should try to see world from others' viewpoint too. A good example is Arthur Radley, considered evil by everybody, by all the kids. In reality, he was just unsocial. He was not a bad person. Second lesson, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird, because mockingbird is the living creature that does no harm. It's a sin to harm anyone who has not harmed us. So don't kill a mockingbird. It's only creating beauty. So try to protect things of innocence, things of beauty. Tom could be innocent, and that is why Atticus is trying to protect him. So lesson number 1, always try to see things from others' perspective too. Second, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Point number 3, people should treat one another fairly, as equals and with respect. Please don't at all believe in any kind of discrimination, because it doesn't matter how much money one person has, how much big or small people are. Try to treat everyone fairly, as equals and with sheer respect. And don't be blinded by the prejudice toward others of different race. No, please. No race, no color, no background or creed. This is what we have actually learned. Otherwise, why would the Tom Robinson would have killed? Right? Why there was mob lynching? Why there had been mob lynching? Lastly, what is the last lesson? Lastly, Atticus, that is the father of the two kids, Jem and Scott, right? He's teaching Scott that if you try to respond to violence with more violence, you'll never achieve anything. Never respond to violence by violence, because while doing so, you'll not achieve anything. Because two wrongs never make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right. Getting the point? So, you never really understand. Let's do a RC practice quickly and let's try to understand what is the meaning of this particular para. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. That is hinting towards empathy. That is hinting toward our first moral lesson, that you should always try to understand others' point of view as well. Unless and until you won't empathize, unless and until you don't climb into the skin and walk around it, you'll never really understand a person from his point of view. So, what could we infer from these lines, class? What is that you think it's absolutely correct? Let's go ahead, find out. So, we should not judge other people without at least first trying to empathize with them. First, empathize. But if you have not empathized, you should never judge other person, someone else. So first try to empathize, and then of course you can judge. But don't judge a book by its cover. That particular idiom, that particular adage, that particular saying is apt here for this particular session. Next, what are the main themes of this book? If we have just learned what could be inferred from that particular paragraph, the second point is, what are the main themes of this book? The main themes of this book are pride, family life, and courage. These are the main themes, and I hope you have understood it from these particular incident, story, the way story has unfolded. Next, I have given a YouTube assignment here. I want all of you to solve these questions. If you have really understood this story, then solving these questions would be a piece of cake for all of you. Once you solve, share your comments in the comment section of the video, and trust me, once you have understood the theory, you'll thoroughly, surely love to solve these questions. They are not very tough questions. The first one are, what are the two mockingbirds? Which two people are considered as the mockingbirds in To Kill a Mockingbird? Second, what are the central themes of this book? Third, why it is a sin to kill a mockingbird? You know the answers of all the three questions. Solve them, share your comments in the video, and add this book to your CV. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is an award-winning novel. It has won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961, and you would feel very proud of yourself by adding this novel to your book. It's depicting racial discrimination. The main story is about racial discrimination, but it's not only that, it's about pride, family, courage as well. Next, no doubt I would like to see your faces here, and one day I know you all will make it. There is no second thought to it. There is no doubt in it. Secondly, do enroll for all these courses. There is a course on 30th of June which has already started for other particular educators, but I'll be starting it on 8th of July at 6 p.m. So do join this course, Revision Guide 1.0 for CAT 2021 by Shruti Kara, that is me, Ravi Prakash sir, Sameer Sadana sir, and Dhrubajyoti Banik sir. Similarly, there are other batch courses as well. Do join them. Practice with Experts 2.0 for CAT 2021, Excellence Batch 1.0 for CAT 2021, but don't forget to use the code SCORALIVE for discount on Plus and Iconic membership. Now, why I'm saying that, class? Not much time is left in the exam, but it's not only about exam. Trust me. Even it's not always the case that you should study only for exam. It's about knowledge as well. Knowledge gives you power, but character gives you respect. So just remember that. No doubt, there are a lot of batches as I just said. Enroll yourself, go ahead, start it. No doubt you will be a winner, you are a winner, because if you're learning these kind of stories, you are learning these kind of things, for sure one day you will definitely become an intellectual. Your intellect will definitely going to soar high. So at the end, all the best, bunch chance to all of you. I always say leaders are always readers. So if become an avid reader. Secondly, let us read and let us dance. Let us read and let us dance, because these two amusements will never do any harm to the world. It's not said by me, it's said by Voltaire. So at the end of the day, if you read something and if you find it interesting, wow, one more feather in my cap. I have added one more book to my list of books. You feel that amusement. Similarly, it is similar to the dance. When you dance, right, again you feel that same feeling. And these two things, reading and dancing, never do any kind of harm to the world. And that is why I have written this code, let us read and let us dance. These two amusements will never do any harm to the world. It's by Voltaire. Right? At the end of it, I'll take your leave. Don't forget to use the code SCORALIVE. Stay tuned. I'll come up with more such sessions where you are going to learn more. For the time being, I'll take your leave. Meet you soon. Thanks for watching. And no doubt, there is a scholarship as well. Don't forget to enroll yourself for the biggest scholarship of 55 lakhs. Right, as I just shared, if you get ranked between 1 to 3, you'll get the 1-year CAT Plus subscription free. If it's between 4 to 10, 75% scholarship. If it is between, your rank is between 11 to 50, then you'll get 50% scholarship. And if your rank is between 51 to 200, you'll get 25% scholarship. So use the code SCORALIVE CAT Combat every Sunday at 12 p.m. India's biggest weekly scholarship test for CAT aspirants. Enroll for free, win scholarship from a pool of 55 lakhs. Take it live from Android, CAT Combat, and use this code as SCORALIVE. So, do 3 things: like, comment, share. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of hard work. But your likes, your love, your affection is a motivation for all of us to create more such videos. I'll take your leave. Adios and gracias. All across the world, all across India. I'll meet you soon. Stay tuned. All right. God bless you.